Welcome to Savvy Business, Life Unscripted, with your host, Christina Rivera, where our guests share their wisdom and valuable business tips, empowering our audience to expand their personal potential.
Hi, Talia Boone. Welcome to Savvy Broadcasting, Life Unscripted. I'm so grateful to have you here today to share your wonderful story. You are the proud founder and owner of Postal Petals. Very interesting. I've never heard of a business like this, but the interesting and more important part is that you're helping with the mental health benefits of flower arranging, which I never thought about. But, we talked just a tad before the interview got going. There's a lot of people dealing with mental health issues with the past 2 years and everything that's gone on with COVID and everything. So I know you're going to help a lot of people. Anyone who might be feeling like I could use a way to de-stress, your company will be the way. But I'd like for you to share a little bit about what even brought you to the world of flower arranging and starting your business.
Absolutely, Christina. And thank you so much for having me. Really excited to be here with you today. Postal Petals came to be really out of necessity, right? So my background is in PR, marketing, brand strategy, partnerships. And I actually started arranging flowers several years ago. I first was introduced to it as like a friend activity. A really good friend of mine wanted to do it just as something like a fun activity for us. And I tried it and kind of got hooked because I found it to be just very relaxing, very therapeutic, much in the same way that you hear people talk about gardening. And so I got into the habit of, when I would feel stressed or when I would feel anxious or when I would just kind of need a little bit of a woosah, I would, go down to the LA flower market, mill around, grab, whatever flowers that I felt like were beautiful and that spoke to me. And then I'd go home and arrange them. And that became like, my unofficial but official form of self-care. And that it really grew into something larger during the pandemic. So after about the first 6 weeks, we're based here in LA, and we went on lockdown around the second or third week in March of 2020. And at first it was just going to be 2 quick weeks in the house. You remember those? Yes. Yeah. So after week like 5 or 6, it became very obvious that this was not just a quick 2 weeks in the house. This was something that was very out of control. You could tell they had no idea what was to come. And it was stressful. It was scary. It was all the things that I'm sure I wasn't the only person feeling it, but it was one of those things where the walls in the house were really starting to close in on me because I also was very much respecting the COVID protocols, very much respecting, lockdowns, all of those things. And so it was wearing on me. And my therapist is the one who actually said to me, I haven't heard you talk about arranging flowers in a while. Why don't you try that and see if it helps you to just relax and calm down? I was like, oh, that's a great idea. I hadn't thought about flowers because I've been so concerned about all these other things, but that's a good idea. That's what therapists are supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
So I just decided, because at that time, I live in LA, right? So we have the second biggest flower market in the world. I didn't know that at the time. I realize that now, but the point that I'm making is flowers are just accessible. So I just assumed, I'll be able to grab some flowers, no problem. But because of the lockdowns, the LA flower market was closed. And I assumed, I'm sure I could just get online. At that point, you can get anything delivered. Not a problem. I'll figure it out. But there was really no service that would deliver fresh cut flowers for the consumer to arrange on their own. I just couldn't find what I was looking for in the way that I was looking for it. And, long story short, I ended up in my search for a company that could ship me flowers, stumbling upon a wholesale flower distributor who would ship very large volumes of flowers to his customers and clients all around the world. And I called him really just with the audacity to ask him to please reduce his massive minimums to something so tiny so that I could arrange flowers at home. And although he said no, he was so kind and gracious in that no, that he and I ended up on the phone for about 2.5 hours. And in that time, I realized there were two things. One, that there was a hole in the marketplace and what I was looking for did not exist, and that there was an opportunity for me to create it. I knew based on my background and my past experience that I could do it. And then I also realized that there was an opportunity not just to enter the floral industry, but also to support domestic flower farms who were suffering at that point and really desperately looking for new ways to bring their product to market. And so that was the first week of May 2020. And by the end of July 2020, excuse me, we launched Postal Petals in beta with nearly 20 farm partners signed up to ship for us. We were in beta for about 6 weeks. And in September, we soft launched and have been off to the races since. So what we do is we partner with domestic flower farms. We ship bundles of fresh cut flowers to our customers nationwide, really for them to, really have an experience of creative expression as a form of mindfulness and self-care. And, I always say that, the core of what we're doing is evolving people's relationship with flowers from a ready-to-use product to an interactive wellness experience. And in that way, really meeting that booming demand for self-care solutions among both consumers and corporate clients, right? Like that was one of the really beautiful things about the pandemic is I feel like people really understood the importance of centering their emotional and mental wellness. And we're just trying to do our part to help make that a more appealing, beautiful experience.
Well, I love that because one thing I realized there's been many kind of blessings through all of COVID that, when you on the surface of it, you're like, no, this is just totally horrible. But I heard from many people that it also gave great pause to people in their lives to be like, where do I want to be? What's important to me? A lot of times we were on the hamster wheel of bringing our kids to soccer, doing our job and rushing to go home and make dinner, that we weren't really breathing. And this allowed that breath where not only could you see what do I want next in my life, but also to do that self-care thing you're mentioning that's oh so important. And so I love that you created this. And by the way, I remember many years ago, our job I worked at, they would have volunteers mandatory at places around New York City, and you could choose something to do. And one of the options was to go and garden in the botanical gardens. And I thought, well, I don't know anything about flowers, but okay, I'll do that. And man, you're right. It is super, super meditative and calming. And it left me feeling awesome being in nature and just having my hands with the plants. It was just awesome.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, and you make such a good point. That's something I say. I'll say two things. One, that was one of the beautiful things about the early days of the pandemic that I truly, truly appreciated, because the sky looked different, the air smelled different, the birds were chirping louder, and I would just pour a cup of tea with nothing in it, just whatever it came in, like whatever flavors were and herbs were mixed in there. And then I would just slow sip and just look out the window and listen to the birds chirp and experience the tea as it was intended, without any agave or honey or lemon or any of the extra things. And it sounds like such a simple thing, but it was just such a beautiful, peaceful, calming just experience. And I really appreciated having that time to not feel rushed. And it was incredible. I realized in the first week of the lockdowns how much time I spent really just in transit, right? Going from meeting to meeting, going from place to place. And when you got onto Zooms, you could do a meeting, you could knock out what would have been a day's worth of meetings in like 3 hours because you're not moving around, you're not doing so much. And it really taught me, it made me really take stock of what was going on in my life and how my time, my very limited time, right? Because I'm only on this earth for it's such a brief flash of time, and you look up and what have you done? And I don't want to. I knew that I didn't want to feel like I was just, like you said, on this hamster wheel. And so it's interesting because what I was experiencing in the very early days of the pandemic led to me. It was great at first, and then it kind of started to devolve. And then I came up with this company, and it's been a really beautiful experience all the way through. And it's been great because building this company is a constant reminder to me to center my wellness, and a constant reminder to me to take a moment to care for myself and do all of these things that I admittedly 3 years ago today was not doing in a regular way that I should have, right? Like, yes, of course I would arrange flowers as self-care, when I had the chance to, but how often was I forcing myself to have the chance to do it? And that's what, part of with the company, why we make our boxes. You can get them on a one-time purchase, but we also will make them subscription based. So you get them every week, every other week, and once a month, because when that box of flowers shows up, they're perishable. So you got to get that box open, and you've got to get to caring for those flowers. And so it almost yanks you out of in a really beautiful way, it really does force you out of that hamster wheel and forces you to take the time that's needed for you to arrange. And it's it's a really, I feel very fortunate.
Yeah, and you keep saying something very important that often we forget, and that's the gratitude. You said fortunate, grateful. And it's true, that pause also allowed for gratefulness, because when you couldn't get together as easily with friends and family, when you did get to connect with them or do things you were taking for granted, maybe it's taking a walk outside, going to dinner, all of a sudden those were that much more pleasurable, because now we're on pause. We're not doing those and taking those times for granted. Now we're really being in the present and really enjoying those moments.
Yes, absolutely. And and to your point, like, gratitude has to be your attitude, because otherwise you've missed it. You've completely missed the purpose if you can't find reasons to be thankful throughout it all.
That's great. Where do you see the company going as far as, it going to stay on a subscription basis? Are you going to have classes where people go, like, maybe some people are listening and I've never even thought, I'm not an arranger, I'm not an artist. Yeah. What do you see?
Yeah, so we do currently offer flower arranging workshops, both virtual and in person. We do ticketed workshops, but then people, which is what we do mostly, we do private workshops where people will bring together a group of 10 or more friends, either online or in person, and we'll lead them through a floral design workshop. We also do a series of community wellness events. We do free community wellness events where we'll start with, a gentle yoga session followed by either a guided or sound bath meditation, and have that energy, usher into a peaceful floral design experience. And, we really want to do more of those. We do them every month here in LA, and are really hoping going into 2023 that it's a model that we can take to other cities around the country, and really use that as a way to introduce people to the concept of flower arranging as a tool for mindfulness and self-care.
Yeah, I love that. I just started using something called Brain FM that someone told me about, and it's like this music that helps you either concentrate better or be creative, even has some music that's good for sleep. But it might be good meditatively to add something like that to your events, maybe with some aromatherapy. That might be really cool.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the flowers are actually the aromatherapy.
Oh, that's right.
They smell beautiful. Yes. But to your point about Brain FM, and I actually wrote that down. I'm going to look them up, because that's also something that we're looking to do. Would love to collaborate with meditation giants like Calm or Mindspace. I'm going to look into Brain FM, but really looking to make it so super easy for people to fall into flowers and meditation, that they don't have to do much. We want to be able to send them a link, and let them get right onto Calm or Mindspace, or maybe a Brain FM, and have the exact meditative experience and the sounds that they need that will help to calm them, and really enhance the floral design experience, so that they get all of the mindfulness they possibly can out of that.
Yeah. Have you heard of the paint and sip type of idea where yeah, because I've always loved people who can paint, and I'm like, I'm not an artist, I can't paint. But my friend's like, neither can I, but it's fun. We go there, drink some wine, and paint what we can. And I was like, this is that. You don't have to be artistic. You can get some flowers and just follow your heart and put them together in a way that makes you happy. It doesn't have to be a certain something.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it's funny that you mentioned wine, because that's another collaboration that we want to get more of going into the new year.
I'm coming right over. No, just joking.
We'll do wine tasting. So we've partnered with different wineries and winemakers to do like wine tasting and flower arranging. Definitely want to do, some collabs with like, spirits brands, and do like cocktail mixing and wine tasting. And so we definitely see the synergy there. And the similarities between things like a paint and sip, and doing things like, flower arranging and wine tasting or cocktail tasting, because it's an experience, right? Like that would be when I would arrange flowers, I would pour myself a glass of Pinot Noir. I would put on a good meditation or a nice playlist, depending on what kind of energy I was looking for. And I would just lose myself in the flowers. And it's really beautiful. And that's the thing about flowers, is that they are imperfectly beautiful, in the sense that their imperfections are exactly what makes them so perfect, and you can't mess it up. And so people will say, oh, I don't know how to arrange flowers. I'm like, it's the easiest thing. They're flowers. They're beautiful. You cannot mess them up. Like you just think about it. Like, Have you ever just thought about how flowers just like make people happy? Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what's going on. As soon as you see flowers, it just lightens your load. It just makes
Mhm.
makes you smile from the inside out. And that's why I tell people it's impossible to mess it up. So just try it and you'll be happy. You'll be happy. You'll be
Yeah.
happy through the process. And then it's great because then you have something to remind you throughout the week that they're
And
sitting on your table. You
here
can
is
remind
a
yourself.
little guy here, if I can show him.
Ah, you're a plant mom.
Yeah. So I had bought this little guy. He was this, well, yay big when I got him. And I did it because I thought my desk needed a little bit of life.
Mhm.
And now this little guy has exploded and he makes me happy. And so just having a little bit of pop, a
Mhm.
plant, a flower around your desk. I have a mentor of mine who always says every single week, and he suggests to his students they do the same,
Mhm.
that you get a bouquet of flowers on your desk. It brings the
Yeah.
sense of wellness and richness into your life and
Yes.
color. It's just so much good things about it.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. It really does. It falls under the category of what they call environmental wellness because
Hmm.
it's like a beautification of space and how it really does change your mood and
Yeah.
it really does just lighten up the space around you and it makes you feel you feel more empowered, you feel more effective, you feel more alive when you have these things around you. And then I think there's also something to, you know, because once you arrange the flowers, you then also know how to care for them, right? And so I always will say, you know, you have them and they'll last you longer than a
Mhm.
traditional than what flowers that you'll typically get from a traditional retailer. But you have an opportunity every day to engage with those flowers. You could change the water, give them a little trim, and helps them to last longer anyway. But it's
Mhm.
just something each day to remind you, like, hey, let me take, even if it's just 5 minutes that you spend, or if you had a little bit of a rough day, you want to take the afternoon, your lunchtime, and just take all the flowers out of the vase and lay them out and do it all
Mm.
over again. That's the
Yeah.
beauty of arranging them yourself. You don't feel like you're messing anything up because you did it. So you
Yeah.
can remake it however you want, and it really does. It just truly amplifies the positive and like mood enhancing benefits of flowers in general, just with the experience of engaging with them. It's really powerful.
It does. And in an age like today, we're often with depression or whatever, we go towards medication, whether that medication might even be alcohol or other things we like cake or sweet or actual drugs.
Mhm.
This is such a clean way, healthy way to, if you're depressed, not to focus on the depression, but take it out and remove it to dealing and helping other life.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. And I think to your point, it's, because that's where they'll talk about people when they're experiencing depression
Mhm.
or stress or something like that, and they talk about getting like an animal, getting a pet to be a companion, or getting
Yeah.
plants and things like that. It's because there is life
Mhm.
radiating. There's life and love radiating out of your pets,
Mhm.
life and love radiating out of your plants, life and
Mhm.
love radiating out of your flowers. And it's just
Mhm.
such a simple thing to do, um, to really um,
Yeah.
to really just put yourself at ease and to give yourself something to look forward to and something to smile about.
That is so awesome. Well, I don't want us to leave today without everyone finding out how they can get their very own arrangement sent to them and get started today on their subscription or one-time offer, or find out more about your upcoming event. How can they do that?
Yeah, so please visit us at postalpetals.com. We
Mhm.
have a very simple 3-step process. First thing you do, we have 6 flower recipes available each month for you to choose from. Those recipes are available in 3 box sizes.
Mm.
Each box includes anywhere from 6 to 12 bundles of flowers, depending on how many arrangements you want to make. So you get a lot of flowers. So the first thing you do is pick the flower recipe that speaks to you best. I would say pick the one that has the most flowers that you love. Tell us how many flowers you want, pick the box size, and then tell us, do you want it one time or do you want us to send you a box of flowers every week, every other week, or once a month? And then from there, with the flowers will show up at your door. You have some quick care tips in the box when it arrives. Then you visit our website for more detailed tutorials. So postalpetals.com to purchase. You can follow us on social media. We're at Postal Petals across all social media platforms.
And to find out about upcoming events, I'm guessing there's a section on the website where they can check that out.
Yes, and so our workshops are called Petal Riots,
Ooh,
and so
nice.
that's where you'll go to find out about our workshops. But then also we announce them on social media. And you almost always want to make sure you get on our newsletter list and follow us on social media, because particularly with our community wellness events, they fill up within minutes.
Wow, I bet.
So yeah, we put them up and they fill up very, very, very fast. So you definitely want to be you want to be in the know, you want to be on our list, because once that link goes live, people get on it. And it's I appreciate the response, but you have to be really, really, really focused on plugged in with us, rather, on our newsletter list, which is on the website, and on our social media. Make sure you turn on your notifications.
Awesome. Well, Talia, Boone, thank you so much for all the work you're doing and helping people mentally and just have a better quality of life. I'm so grateful to you guys. Everyone, go to Postal Petals today, get on their mailing list, and get some flowers sent on over so you can, it's just so good for you emotionally. And I know I love this little guy, this little plant here. I'm just so happy about how big he's grown in the past 2 years. But thank you so much for coming to Savvy Broadcasting.
Absolutely, Christina. Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
You betcha.
Like, subscribe, and share this episode. To listen to more savvy episodes and savvy biz tips, go to www.lifeunscriptedradio.com. To find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or how to become a guest, email Christina at lifeunscriptedradio.com.